And there we have it. Betsy, in the words of Jim Lehrman, who's with us. Jim, thank you so much for those beautiful words and for being with us. I shut everybody else's video off. I was watching you and the tears were here too.
Thank you, Leonard, and thank you, Helene. Yeah.
So let's stay in touch. I know you have to leave, but
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us for this.
And thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's very, very moving to
Be in touch.
be able to do that. Yes, be in touch. And now I'd like you to meet our guest hornist, Noah, who has started his video and unmuted. You want to say hello?
Hey, glad to be with you.
Thanks. So this is actually our second concert with Noah. It was featured last February playing Brahms and his own transcription of Shostakovich and a Kevin Scott piece that we commissioned and found him to play with us, as well as a short duet, a short piece that I wrote in Martinique that he did with Dan and Helene and me. This time, we're going to hear him in a duo by Hindemith and a trio by Harbison, both of whom were very beloved teachers at Yale and MIT, respectively. So, Noah, tell us about the Hindemith.
Well, Paul Hindemith wrote this piece for alt horn and piano in 4 movements, which we're going to play just 2, the third and the first. With a poetic text, he also wrote to be read by the hornist and pianist in between. The work dates from 1943, the same year as the Copland Sonata we heard earlier, when Hindemith was teaching at Yale, having fled the Nazis 5 years earlier. Its very title is a pun, as alt means both alto and old. Its second movement, which we're not playing today, but I encourage everyone to go listen to, contains a rhythm that spells out in Morse code NKAW, which stands for Niemand kann alles wissen, or no one can know everything. And in fact, no one knows exactly when the piece was premiered and with what instrument. The composer sanctioned several different types of horn and even saxophone as possible sound media for this piece.
The work also seems to reflect his passion for art, not just musical, but visual, as exhibited in his masterpiece, the opera, and later symphonic metamorphosis based on his Matthäus der Maler, Matthäus the painter. The last words of that work could be translated as follows: "You may yet remember when I have been buried, a trace of what was good within me, what I strove for, what I created, what honors came to me, what distressed me, what I loved." And that's my translation, which appeared on the memorial program for Christopher Keane, whose last performance was as conductor of that work at New York City Opera. His widow chose and credited me for my translation, which appeared in my review of the performance in Aufbau. So I took the liberty of retranslating and rhyming Hindemith's rhymed German poem, which is into English, the language he wanted to be used in English-speaking countries. His English, of course, was very good, though pretty strongly accented. My mother and I met him, Hindemith, the year he died, just after he'd conducted a magnificent performance we attended of his Requiem for Those We Love, based on Whitman's poetry at Philharmonic Hall, as it was then called, in April 1963. He bristled a bit when I mentioned Siegmeister, my composition teacher, but opened up meltingly when I mentioned my piano teacher, Olga Heifetz, whom he had known since childhood and of whom he was obviously very fond. She told me he had dedicated a violin concerto to her daughter, Suzanne Finman, but forgot to sign it when he went back to Europe after the war. He later visited her and signed it, "The Forgotten Manuscript by the Forgotten Composer." But he is not forgotten. In fact, very fondly remembered as both composer and teacher. So here are 2 movements and a poem from his Sonata for alt horn and piano of 1943.